Welcome back to The Lead. I'm Jake Tapper. More on our world lead now. The hunt for 300 kidnapped girls in Nigeria and how the government there has limped into action to find them. The terror group that took those students from their school, Boko Haram, is known as Nigeria's Taliban. They've declared war on Western education and have slashed and burned and blasted their way through villages and schools before demanding that citizens convert to their particular perverse form of Islam or die. Still, the State Department under Hillary Clinton reportedly did not seem convinced that they belonged on the terror list. The Islamist extremists of Boko Haram have seized 276 schoolgirls and killed more than 300 others just in the last few weeks. And they've done it all in the name of establishing an Islamic state in Nigeria. Boko Haram sure sounds like a terrorist group.
We have killed countless soldiers, and we're going to kill more.
Long before the kidnappings, Boko Haram was a vicious organization. The name means Western education is sinful, and it's carried out attacks in Nigeria for more than a decade, responsible for thousands of deaths since 2009, including a brutal attack at a boarding school last year that killed 20 students.
The seizure of these young women by this radical extremist group, Boko Haram, is abominable, it's criminal, it's an act of terrorism, and it really merits the fullest response possible, first and foremost from the government of Nigeria.
But Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's own State Department refused to designate Boko Haram as a terrorist group, even after the group bombed the United Nations headquarters in Abuja, and despite the urgings of the Justice Department, Pentagon, CIA, FBI, Capitol Hill, and even the White House's own counterterrorism officials. Why? State Department officials say it's complicated.
There was a major discussion on whether this should be done and why. I won't reprise it all here, but there was a concern that putting Boko Haram on the foreign terrorist list would, in fact, raise its profile, give it greater publicity, give it greater credibility, help in its recruitment, and also probably drive more assistance in its direction.
In June 2012, the Department did add several of the group's members to the terrorist blacklist, including its leader.
Nigeria is no longer a big deal to us. As far as we are concerned, we will now comfortably confront the United States of America.
But they still held off on designating the group as terrorist. That year, a letter from Republican Congressman Patrick Meehan and Peter King urged Clinton to put Boko Haram on the terrorist list, warning of the group's, quote, rapid progression from a machete-wielding mob to a full-blown al-Qaeda affiliate.
So we lost valuable time in a number of years, and for the life of me, I cannot understand why the Secretary of State did not want to designate Boko Haram as a foreign terrorist organization.
Finally, last November, Secretary of State John Kerry put Boko Haram on the terrorist list. And while the finger-pointing is playing out in Washington, back in Nigeria, the desperate search to find these stolen girls continues. Let's talk now to two people who have added a lot of context to this story. Republican Congressman Patrick Meehan of Pennsylvania, he, along with Congressman King, pushed for Boko Haram to be designated a terrorist organization years ago. Congressman, thanks for joining us. I'm going to get to you in a minute, but first, I want to ask Josh Rogin about some of his reporting. He's a senior correspondent for national security and politics for the Daily Beast, and he wrote a great piece detailing the back and forth in the Clinton State Department on this issue. Josh, why did it take until November of last year to designate Boko Haram a terrorist organization?
Well, very simply, the Clinton State Department resisted calls from the Justice Department, the CIA, the FBI, some of its own officials, some of the White House officials, at the behest mostly of the Nigerian government. The Nigerian government was staunchly against this. They believed that it would give Boko Haram added stature. And secondly, the State Department did not believe at the time that Boko Haram represented a threat to U.S. critical interests abroad. They believed it was a localized, regional organization that's aspirations were contained in Nigeria. This was despite the fact that they had attacked the UN headquarters. Looking back, we see that now that Boko Haram only got more violent, larger, and more aggressive in the 2 years that we didn't designate them. So regardless of our discretion and the State Department's caution, all of the negative outcomes that we're warned about seem to have taken place anyway, and that's why we have lawmakers looking back and wondering why the decision was made the way it was.
Josh, this scathing quote in your article from a former senior U.S. official, unnamed, quote, "The one thing she could have done," about Hillary Clinton, "the one tool she had at her disposal she didn't use, and nobody can say she wasn't urged to do it. It's gross hypocrisy," unquote. So this is just one example of the pile-on against Clinton for her State Department's decision on this. How widespread do you think that sentiment is?
Yeah, we've been getting a huge reaction to our piece from the right with tons of criticism of Hillary Clinton's decision and a corresponding reaction from the left defending her decision. What's clear is that this will be a huge issue in the narrative of her tenure at the State Department if she decides to run for president in 2016, because it speaks both to her record on international terrorism and her claim that she's at the forefront of protecting women and girls in conflict. Unfortunately, the Clinton office did not respond to my multiple requests for comments, but those demands for her to talk about why she made this decision will continue, and one has to wonder how long she'll be able to remain silent.
Josh Rogin from the Daily Beast, thank you so much. Congressman